Jhanvi Rana. I have secured the rank of All India rank of 121 in Chemical Engineering in GATE 2019. Today I am here to share my experience at NPCIL. So in this particular discussion, we are going to discuss on the 4 points. First, how the shortlisting takes place. Then I would like to share my interview experience and how should you prepare for the interview at NPCIL. And lastly, we will take about the pay metrics and what does NPCIL offers to you. So, once you give GATE paper and have a good rank, then depending upon the vacancies that NPCIL announces in its advertisement, you get the shortlisting. Generally, the shortlisting happens at 1:20 ratio. Now, once the shortlisting takes place, even for the 3 vacancies, even 60 candidates are being called. So here you can understand that the marks of GATE will be of a lower percentage than compared to that of your interview marks. Approximately about 20% of marks would be in the final would be considered in the while making final merit of your GATE marks, and the rest of will depend upon the interview. So here, when you are dealing with NPCIL interview, the marks that you scored in your interview plays a very important role while being there in the selection list. So now I'm going to share upon what was my interview experience. The interview takes place in the BART Center at Mumbai. Once you enter there, you have got document verifications. So please make sure when you enter, you have got all the list of documents, certificates ready in the file, so that eases your work while doing checking. So generally, the checking document verifications takes a good amount of time. You can expect about 2 to 3 hours before your number comes in. When you start, so the basic once you start, it generally starts with the basic HR questions. Introduce yourself, what's your background. Once the basic HR question comes, they review your file, whatever resume you have written. There are some questions aligned to that, but this is a very small part of the interview. It just takes for 5 to 10 minutes, and later on, during NPCIL interviews, for most of the candidates who I have been asked, even mine, so they asked you to list your 4 to 5 favorite subjects. Make sure those subjects what you list in the 4 to 5 subjects are one of the strongest one. For the subjects like heat transfer, mass transfer, and fluid mechanics. Once I had they started asking questions. So when talking about heat transfer, they asked for me, why do you see droplets on AC? What happens when what is the difference between an air conditioner and air cooler? Why does air cooler works only in Rajasthan? Why not in this? What is the concept of dew point? What is the concept of wet bulb temperature? And once they start with this question, NPCIL interviews usually start with those questions pertaining to your environment, and later on go with the detail and the concepts into depth. For example, I was being asked about how to define the rate of condensation at a vertical plate. What happens if you put it horizontally? Does air circulation improve the rate of heat conduction or not? So now, okay, so this were the questions asked me in heat transfer. So relating to that, I had been mass transfer. So in mass transfer, they asked me how does the function of evaporative cooling takes place. What is the phenomenon of heat transfer and mass transfer occurring when you measure wet bulb temperatures. In mass transfer, they generally ask me about cooling tower. How does it operate, and what is blow down ratio. So these were the questions, and they generally they had asked me, and if more number of people are there, how does the humidity gets affected. Later on in fluid mechanics, yes, in fluid mechanics, they gave me one of the questions where they had some levels. They asked me that they gave me a sum where I had to calculate whether the flow would be reaching it. It was a general application of Bernoulli's principle. Once after that, they asked me about thermosiphon effect. How does the siphon effect takes place? Now where is it used? And where it is where what is the application of thermosiphon effect. So for example, you have designed a pump that delivers water to the third floor. How can you make it to the fourth floor? What advantages you have if you what more changes you can make in the system. Then even I had mentioned instrumentation and process control as my fourth subject. In instrumentation and process control, I was being asked, for example, you have a closed tank. How do you measure the level without seeing it? What is the general way you look it out? If you have no devices with it, what type of device you can add to it? If you want to keep it closed, what are different type of new technology existing in? So this was my question. So at the end of interviews, those people who shortlist even in the bit of interview, so they are given a white slip, and later on they are asked to take medical. From this shortlist also, they prepare merit list, and then there is a final selection. So I was there. I got whitelist. I was not in the final list. Finalists, maybe there would be candidates much better than me. Now, basically, what judging the overall process. Now, I would like to give how you should prepare for this NPCIL interview. For preparing for NPCIL interviews, first thing you should prepare, the way you prepare for every interviews is preparing your resume properly. The marks, the experience, extracurricular, everything should be mentioned and known to it. The second most important question, second most important thing is NPCIL. To prepare what NPCIL does, it is the one agency that deals with nuclear energy. You can actually visit its web page to understand how it functions. So you should be very well aware of the company's profile. Once you deal with the company's profile, the next questions you should be in your mind while preparing. Why NPCIL? Because sometimes when you have a good rank, or people generally ask, why don't you go for MTech? Why don't you? So you are supposed to have prepare for this. Why NPCIL? And once NPCIL, these are the basic here. In NPCIL interview, the HR questions play a less weightage, and they directly jump to the core subjects. So once you have core subject, so you have to prepare 4 to 5 core subjects where you have got your excellence. Now, how core subjects. So what type of questions they are asked based on my interview experience? These generally start with whatever basic phenomenon that's occurring. Once defined, you have to root what is the basic concept that is resulting into that. Once you identify that, later on they go with more theoretical basis, and they are good enough to provide you hints which you should be able to catch up. And once you are very sure of your basic concept, you can easily and secondly is to maintain your cool, because sometimes the part what I felt about NPCIL is they give questions that are out of your surprise. You never expect them to come, and they are all of a sudden. So in that, you have to make a cool. You have to start approaching the question with your basic concept, and once you start, they generally, if you get stuck up somewhere, they do give you hint, and once they give you hint, you can later on flow and come to a conclusion of your answers. But make sure your basic concepts are pretty good. Now, what NPCIL offers once you get selected? Okay, so NPCIL belongs to central government, and it's a part of department of science that takes care of nuclear energy. BARC and NPCIL works together. BARC is the research center that provides technology. NPCIL is the one that operates all the nuclear plants in India. So here you are being given a position of scientific officer, where your pay matrix generally lies of 56,000 to upper age of 1,80,000. Okay, so you are in the payment of 56,100. So you have got a training period where also you will be paid the same amount. Later on, allowances and all that goes as per government rules. And yes, there is the signing of a bond in NPCIL. make sure you read everything. They generally publish all this information while in advertisement. Please read it